Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show, Soccer Down Here. And John, hear you there. And it is a Freestyle Friday, so we are all across the board. We got plenty of draws to talk about. We've got, let's see. First off, how's your bracket after yesterday, where Virginia, for the third time in 5 years, lost to a seed that was 12 or higher? Is it 12 or lower or 12 or higher? But 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, third time in 5 years they've done that. They've also won a national title. But, yes, so Virginia out. Good on Furman. Very, very cool stuff there with Furman. For me, I always like chaos, especially in the early rounds. And I'll tell you, I mean, my bracket, and I guess technically this is the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And if you use the code Soccer Down Here 15, you get 15% off your purchases. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, traditionally, yeah, brackets busted, not a surprise. Yes, and exactly. Yes, to you both, Michael Head, good morning. Morning, Tom. It was an 8-9 with Auburn. Morning, Alex. And I had Charleston and Oral Roberts. You know, where a team is concerned, if you're trying to make an upset, if you're one of those higher seeds trying to beat a lower seed, I think actually scoring would help. Yeah, and we'll get it definitely, Tom. We'll get into the Champions League draw and Europa League draw and all the draws fit to print coming up in just a little bit. Trust me, we got plenty of draws to talk about. So, yeah, I'm one of those guys that will sit there and I root for chaos early. But I'm very, very chalky late. And so that's how my bracket was. And so, of course, Oral Roberts not scoring and starting out down 11-0. Yeah, they did. No doubt about it. Real Madrid got the gauntlet. Hail United. Yeah, Arsenal. We can laugh about that. Bart Keeler probably broke his mug after what we saw yesterday with the goal against Aaron Ramsdale and then going to PKs. Bart probably will blame Kim Kardashian or whichever Kardashian was there with her son. So there you go. But, yeah, when it comes to my bracket is done. And it is absolute chaos, at least, you know, with the bracket anyway. But like I said, I'm chaos early, chalky late. And today, you know, you had a 10. Mike Conti very happy with Penn State knocking off Texas A&M. Texas A&M really, frankly, just to get in. But, okay, you got in as a 7. So you had a 10. You had Furman, and you had one more high seed, which I can't think of off the top of my head. But, yeah, so chaos early. And fun late with a lot of the heavyweights. That's kind of just how it is for me anyway. But, yeah, bracket traditionally kind of busted. I did not have Virginia working their way all the way through. So, yeah, I know. Nick, exactly. Milan and Napoli. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. But, all right, so let's get into opening kickoff. Let's just bracket and talking. It's like how busted is it? And we'll probably do that again like Monday and ask how brackets are there. Reminder, programming, 5:30 and 7:30. It is Brookwood at Archer for the high school game. Your Friday high school game should be a great matchup, weather permitting. I mean, the matchup itself is very cool. How the weather will affect it, it will be something entirely. So 5:30, 7:30, Brookwood and Archer. Thanks to our friends at Archer for letting us come out and cover those matches. And thanks to the two schools for helping us out and getting ready for the games. Jason and I will be out there 5:30 and 7:30, Brookwood and Archer tonight. So that's your programming. And that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, use the code Soccer Down Here 15 They take 15% off. And then what you get to do is they invest 10% into the youth games. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, all right. Now, as we, kind of work our way through, we got plenty of draws to talk about. We have draws upon draws upon draws. All right. Europa League quarterfinal draw is out. And, here's what you're staring at with that. Manchester United, Sevilla, Juve and Sporting, Bayer Leverkusen and Union Saint-Gilloise, Feyenoord and Roma. Semifinal draw is Juve or Sporting against Manchester United and Sevilla, Feyenoord or Roma versus Bayer Leverkusen or Union Saint-Gilloise. So that's what you're looking at for your Europa League. Conference League is live right now, so everybody's trying to figure out what their opponents are. Lech Poznan and Fiorentina. Literally, it is going on right this second. So we'll get back to the Europa Conference League coming up in just a sec. Champions League quarterfinal, semifinal draw. You've got Real Madrid and Chelsea, Benfica, Inter Milan, Man City, Bayern Munich. All right, so let's hold nothing back there. And AC Milan and Napoli. Manchester City, Chelsea would face each other if they both win their ties. So you would have, and I love how the British media sits there and says, well, if Manchester City and Chelsea, they win, taking it specifically from the Premier League perspective. Premier League perspective has it laid out for you. Yeah, so if Manchester City and Chelsea win, I love how this one network that I'm staring at sits there and they're just kind of like, well, if Chelsea wins their draw, they're playing Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid, people. It's like, yeah, we'll just dismiss Real Madrid completely. If Chelsea wins their draw, they'll go up against Manchester City. So, yeah, that's how some of the media are staring at it. So you could have Manchester City, Bayern Munich. You could also have Bayern and Real Madrid. That's just, once again, not necessarily a surprise how they're handling that kind of stuff, but yeah, I love how the phraseology is there. That phraseology of, if Chelsea wins, they're playing Real Madrid. They're playing Real Madrid if Chelsea wins their draw. So, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You could have Benfica, who are keeping an eye on Joshua Winder, by the way, from Lou City. Looks like they're getting closer and closer to a deal. Looks like $1.5 million plus add-ons for Joshua Winder to go play in the European theater from Lou City. Very, very cool stuff for the USL Championship to have that kind of thing going on. But, yeah, so Europa quarterfinal draw, Manchester United, Sevilla, Juve Sporting, Leverkusen, Union Saint-Gilloise. Manchester United could face Juve if both of them win. Real Madrid, Chelsea, Benfica, Inter, Man City, Bayern, AC Milan, Napoli. So, Real Madrid and Chelsea, Manchester City, Bayern, Benfica, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Napoli. So, in theory, you could have a Milan derby in the semifinals of the Champions League if Inter knocks off Benfica and AC Milan beats Napoli. So, yeah. So, there's all of that subtext that's going on there too. So, nothing like a draw that rivals what we get from our friends in the NBA. So, that's a fun way to start things off. Okay, quarterfinal draw, Europa Conference League. Basel, Nice, Anderlecht, AZ Alkmaar, Georgi Mihailovic there. Ghent, West Ham, Lech Poznan, Fiorentina. First legs of the quarters Thursday, April 13. Second legs are played on Thursday, April 20. Ghent, West Ham winner gets Anderlecht AZ Alkmaar. and therefore Lech Poznan Fiorentina gets Basel and Nice. So that's your pairings there in the Conference League. So that's what you're staring at. That's your Conference League draw. That's your Europa League draw. That's your and that's your draw in Champions League. So, it's incredibly average television that we're staring at here. Yeah, really? I know. We need juice boxes on all of this. I know. Bird Chelsea is not beating Real Madrid. I know. So we got that going. We need. No, it's Sharif. What we try to do with Weekend Whiparound is blend in fantasy to it, and also keep an eye on the Jason Wright Twitter page and get the ideas there, because that traditionally is also a part of what's going on. Let me see if that has been released yet when it comes to fantasy. And if you haven't joined the Fantasy League, join the Fantasy League, because it's cool and you get to hang out with folks, and we get to work our way through. All right, so the Patrick has not posted, and this is, you follow Patrick N. Smith 82 on Twitter. He's the one that helps out the Jason Wright Agency in determining, the tries, the must-haves, and all that kind of stuff. So Patrick N. Smith 82, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. Those are your fantasy follows. And if it's posted by the end of the show, then we will let everybody know what Patrick thinks when it comes to the Fantasy League. If you haven't joined the Fantasy League, go to the Jason Wright Agency Facebook page, get the link there, Jason Wright with a W, or follow on Twitter, Jason Wright with a WAGEN on Twitter. So the Wright Agency, thanks again for sponsoring the Fantasy League this year. Very, very cool that Jason does that as well. Yeah, Real Madrid, Man City would be crazy. Napoli has a good so Sharif, right there with you. All right, so trying to see if we can get as much done as possible before 9:30, so our friends from the Beyond Goals Mentoring, I believe it's Greg Garza's turn, if memory serves. So we'll see what happens there. Other news this morning. Crystal Palace sacks Patrick Vieira. So you've got Crystal Palace looking for they're looking for a new manager, but doing it right now. A lot of folks are saying that was not the best decision. Patrick Vieira replacing Roy Hodgson in the summer of 2021, 12th in the Premier League last year. They haven't won in their last 12 in all competitions, and they're a part of group number 3. 3 points within the relegation zone, of course. 9 teams are within 5 points, I think, if memory serves, when it comes to Patrick Vieira. So Crystal Palace sacks Patrick Vieira. Last win came against Bournemouth on New Year's Eve. And so Crystal Palace exits the FA Cup in the 3rd round, losing to Southampton. They're in the relegation zone. So they decided that they were going to sack Vieira. It is with enormous regret. It is with enormous regret that the decision was made. Ultimately, results in recent months have placed us in a precarious league position, and it's necessary to give us the best chance of retaining Premier League status. We felt a change was necessary. That said, Patrick's impact since joining us in the summer is significant. He's held in the highest regard by myself and my colleagues. Yes, 9 teams separated by 5 points. Crystal Palace is right there at the top of that group. I mean, right now they're 12th. They're ahead of Wolves on goal difference. And so in 2023, they haven't won 1. They've drawn 5, lost 6. He led the team to a Wembley FA Cup semi-respectable 12th place finish last season, playing some exciting football, which was challenging and crucial campaign for the club given the changes we made to the squad prior to his arrival. Patrick has given his all to the club, and we thank him for him and his team, and we thank them for their service. So that Crystal Palace, a lot of folks are saying that sacking Patrick Vieira was a mistake. So you've got that going on right now. So Crystal Palace heading into this weekend sacks Patrick Vieira. A lot of folks are saying this is the wrong decision. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has arrived at Old Trafford as the takeover talks continue with Manchester United. The Qatari delegation showed up yesterday. The Sheikh was not a part of that delegation. A lot of his other representatives were. Sir Jim Ratcliffe thought it was important for him to show up to be a part of the group that he is representing, that he is a part of, that he is the one who's leading. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe showed up as a part of the procession this morning when it came to Manchester United. So you've got that. Yes, 12 on down is madness. Yeah, and so that is absolutely crazy. And so we will see. Yeah, Alex, you're not wrong. Close. Well, it's close. Half of the Premier League is in the relegation zone. Like I said, 9 teams separated by 5 points. If you thought the championship was crazy, the Premier League itself is nuts right now. And I think that Crystal Palace, we'll have to start looking at run-ins probably within the next month and see how things stand. Prem and Proper, by the way, is up on the network. We'll have to start looking at run-ins because if you look at the talent that's there are teams that are just better than others. Well, yeah, it would. But the thing is that $1 billion check would only be good for about 20% of what the Glazers would be getting rid of. If they sold 100%, Ryan Reynolds shows up with that Mint Mobile check. Okay, 20%. Where's the other $4 billion? $5 billion. So, yes, you have chaos right now with a lot going on. The Premier League, you're sacking Vieira. Arsenal's out to Sporting on penalties in Europa League. Manchester United beats Real Betis 1-0. They were already up 4-1 going into the second leg. So you've got all of that going on. Tough Champions League runs for Chelsea and Manchester City. You've got, we've mentioned Paddy McCarthy. Okay, so now we have our caretaker manager. Crystal Palace poised to give their U21 manager Paddy McCarthy the chance to lead the club to Premier League safety instead of Patrick Vieira. Former defender for the club with more than 130 appearances, McCarthy's highly regarded by the Palace hierarchy and could land the job on an interim basis until the end of the season if he impresses. This is from John Percy at the Telegraph. 39-year-old's been working with Palace's academy since August of 21. Take charge of his first-team match at Arsenal on Sunday. There's also an option of reappointing another former Palace player, Sean Derry, on an interim basis, but no moves are expected before the weekend. Vieira dismissed first-team coach Derry in February for reportedly overstepping in his role, end quote. 9th Premier League managerial casualty this season, Patrick Vieira. Traveled to, as he was, okay. So, according to John Percy at the Telegraph, Vieira was dismissed Friday morning as he traveled to the club's training ground following talks between the Palace ownership the previous day. It is understood that the concern has been growing for some time. Well, yeah, when you haven't won in 2023, I can see that. Preparations for the game against local rivals Brighton on Wednesday were alarmingly poor, with the news filtering through the boardroom. So, all right. So, heading into a match with Arsenal, where you are the top of the 9-team group that's separated by 5 points, and you are 3 points out of the relegation zone, you decide to sack your manager and have your U21 guy be in charge. No offense to Paddy McCarthy, but okay, sure. And yeah, it is. And Nix, it is going to be a knife fight for survival this year in the Premier League. And then Tom, one of our dear Everton supporters, he says he feels a bit better about Everton, even despite your wayward, invisible, never available striker. This sounds like what is it? Joseph and the no good, very bad day. So that seems like how you're looking at Everton, Tom. But seriously, you look at You look at the bottom of the Premier League. I mean, and like I said, we can take more than 5 minutes to talk about it. We probably will. But you look at Southampton, I've always thought that they were going down. They just seem to be adrift. Leeds, not sure. I thought that sacking Jesse Marsh was harsh. And good to see Jesse Marsh at the Princeton game yesterday when Princeton got the win, as they did. That was the other seed I couldn't think of. But Princeton got the win yesterday. Jesse Marsh was there. So it's Marsh madness. Bournemouth, not sure. Leaning toward relegation, and I'm hoping that there was an escalator in the Bill Foley purchase that said, okay, if we go down, then you're worth this. If you stay up, you're worth the 150. West Ham, I haven't been sold on West Ham. I thought that they would be one of the three going down. Leicester, Knicks, I know that you have been concerned about them, especially after the inactivity in the window in January. Everton, I know that, Tom, you've been concerned. Forest, I think they'll find a way, considering all they're doing is just picking up new players and throwing them at a problem. And Steve Cooper, they seem to have a lot of faith in him. And the thing is, that start that they had, considering all the new folks that were coming in, for Steve Cooper, it's like juggling chainsaws, and it seems to have calmed down at least a little bit. And I think right now, with 26 points, they actually do have more points in transfers. Wolves, Lopetegui should be able to keep them afloat. And then Crystal Palace, I thought that they just had better talent than a lot of other teams below them, so they would be staying up. But, yeah, we'll talk run-ins. We'll talk about all that other stuff, man. I mean, that's the Premier League from 12 to 20, just an absolute mess. Absolute mess. Yeah, Michael, exactly. Tough way to start your Premier League coaching career. At Arsenal, after Arsenal loses in penalties to Sporting in the Europa League. Don't think they're going to be mad. I mean, in that Golasso over Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, that's whew. I mean, you got that to keep an eye on. Yeah, Ricky, you are correct. Ryan Reynolds looking at the Ottawa Senators, and he could probably buy the whole Canadian Premier League if he wanted to, getting a stake in the Whitecaps. But no, anything obviously is on the table this morning. We've got in hour number 2, we've got Weekend Whiparound. Jarrett joins us in hour number 2. Jason, I think, is going to be joining us in hour number 2. He is with John Chuckery, I believe, at 92.9 The Game at 10 o'clock. So we have all of that. Yeah, A&M. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Rainy and Gwinnett expecting a half-inch today. Why do you keep getting the Spain teams, Sam? That I don't know. Maybe you should check the temperature of the envelopes. Check the temperature of the envelopes. Just a thought. That's my David Stern. It's my David Stern Patrick Ewing reference for the day. Byrne wouldn't consider Chelsea a gauntlet for Real Madrid, but the semifinal would be. That is correct. Absolutely correct. No, Byrne. Chelsea, yeah, correct. Chelsea is not beating Real Madrid. But like I said, I love how the English pundits will sit there. It could be Manchester City and Chelsea. Sure. Could also be Bayern and Real Madrid. So, yeah, Napoli's got a good path to the final. Yes, exactly. So, and Emilio with the weather, and like I said, everybody just be safe today when it comes to driving and being out there in the muck and the mire. Atlanta averages 47 inches of rain over 113 days. Seattle averages 39 annually over 165. So, but what do they do in that same 113, Emilio? That's what I want to know when it comes to the rain. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see what else is on y'all's mind this morning. Bart. Bart. Okay. Matt Turner would not have let that goal in. That's all I'll say. Yeah, what is up with Matt Turner? It's like he's obviously he's a part of things, but then all of a sudden he's not. All right. So Jason Nix with a question. Would you rather have Vieira or Henry as the next men's national team coach? I'd talk to Vieira if I were U.S. Soccer. Okay. Now that someone has popped up, maybe we can ask him about what he thinks about these kinds of things. We're going to test technology. and we're going to see if it'll work. And so we'll see if I can find the proper introduction for this individual on a Friday. Technology functions, and it is Captain Michael Parkhurst. So how's your bracket, Cap?
I didn't have a great day one. However, I will say that I didn't have a catastrophic day one.
Okay. Because I'm one of those guys that likes chaos early, but by the time I get into the actual meat of after the first weekend, I'm fairly chalkish after the first weekend. And, I let myself have fun with the first round, second round, but by the time I'm out of there, I'm like, no, it's ones and twos and maybe the occasional threes and fours. I don't go too crazy after the first weekend. See, I had Charleston and Oral Roberts yesterday. It's like 13s and 14s.
Mm-hmm.
Did not have Furman and definitely did not have Princeton. But I figured, if you pick Oral Roberts, and I made this point earlier in the show, that you kind of, if you're looking to be a team that's going to score an upset, you kind of have to score. Just as a thought. Oral Roberts was down 11-0 early, and you're sitting there going, okay, if you're trying to upset Duke, you kind of need to score points.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I like to pick against Duke usually, but they've been really good down the stretch, so I did not. So in our family bracket, I did actually pick Princeton for no reason whatsoever. But I didn't have UVA losing, but didn't get crushed, so it was all right.
All right. So when it comes to topics, I don't know why this particular topic popped into my head this morning, and I know we'll talk about Atlanta United as we go. Maybe it was because Zlatan got picked for his national team for the first time since, 1742 for this go-round of friendlies. Yeah, that's coming up. He got picked for the Swedish national team.
It's got to be a send-off, right?
You would think. Let's see, Ibrahimovic. You're having me spelling Ibrahimovic. I want to get it right. So yeah, because there was 41-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic has called it for Sweden's Euro 2024 qualifiers against Belgium and Azerbaijan.
Well, I guess if it's Euro qualifiers, it's not a send-off.
Okay. Well, but I mean, it could be like his last time of doing it. So it's like, dude, we need your power forward presence. We need you to conquer the Euros again. That's what we need. You conquered Major League Soccer because just ask him. He conquered MLS. And he's conquered everything else. So it's time to conquer the Euros again, 41-year-old man. So it's like, we need you out there. And then maybe by the time that, 2024 is done, you just it's like, okay, it was great. It was a send-off. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
But I saw that with Zlatan, and I'm like, ego. I don't know where that connection came from in my head, but when it comes to ego and confidence, it's a very, very fine line when it comes to those two particular words. When it comes to dealing with mentees, do you have to sit there and remind them of that balance because it is a delicate balance? Are they more confident these days than we were growing up playing? I mean, how would you gauge today's younger athlete? Are they more confident, and do they have to be dialed back? How do you view them today?
There's a lot more on the edges, I think. Like you've got the kids that are bordering the ego, and you have to try and bring them down a little bit. But then you've got the kids that are afraid to show too much confidence because they don't want to be conceived as cocky and arrogant. And for those, we try and tell them like, hey, it's okay to have a little bit of that, and you need a little bit of that to be successful, especially as you get up the levels. You have to think that you're the best. You have to have that supreme confidence, and you have to have that like strut, that belief of like, yeah, it's in me. I've got it in me. And like you said, there's there's that line of, guys that are egotistical and tough to work with and just jerks and things like that. So you can cross that line, but I'll tell you, some of the best players I ever played with, it's like they've got it, and they toe that line, and sometimes they go over a little bit over it, but you understand that that's what they need, and that's what pushes them to be great.
What about you when you were really getting that idea of I'm really good at this and I'm good at this in the development level and collegiate level and Major League Soccer? How confident were you externally and how confident were you internally? Because I would think that those are two different things too, because you can be the most confident person inside, but you talk about having it translate into your activities. How confident were you? And I guess, did you have to kind of dance that dance between ego and confidence when you were growing up?
Not really. I think that I was brought up in a way that, the ego wasn't allowed. I didn't have anybody around showing me exactly like, this is an ego and like, just that type of mentality and attitude. So it was definitely, I was confident. And I think that maybe it was just because I was pretty good at most sports from a young age. So I think that helped. So confidence was not usually an issue for me when I was younger. And I don't know, just finding that balance was it came natural to me, I think, a little bit, because I knew that I didn't want to show up anybody or anything like that. But I knew that it was important for my success. And that's just how I played. I just went out there and was like, believed that I was going to be one of the best ones out there.
Yeah. And I mean, there are those, even if it's not just in athletics, there are those in whatever form of life we are in. We always see those who are confident and they want to surround themselves with other folks who are just as confident, not egotistical, but share their same goals and levels of confidence so you all can work your way forward. But also, I mean, hell, in my business, you got folks who got egos, no doubt about it. And I know that you've seen them in locker rooms with microphones and all this kind of stuff. And there's always that moment where you want to sit there and it's like, okay, well, that dude needs a dressing down. That dude needs a dressing down. This guy's confident. I can deal with him. And that's why I wanted to ask about the delicate balance that we see, because we can all be confident. But I think that if we surround ourselves with those who are confident and not egotistical, I think that the collective succeeds in that regard, where you're not having to dial somebody back in because of their ego. So everything can be so everything can work as one. It's like the collective Borg kind of an idea where you don't have that one outlier and everything works. I mean, that seems like something where you might have to take that cane and grab that person and drag them in. Did you ever have any situations that you knew of where folks had to drag that one person back in so the whole unit could be successful?
Yeah, I think that, we've all been around people that just don't have that correct filter, right? And not just language wise and saying things, right? But just any type of filter as far as what they say or how they act, what they do, right? And you're just like, man, this guy doesn't just get societal norms and, how to act and be appropriate in certain situations and things like that.
Did you ever have to pop somebody in the back of the head and go, look, dude, dial it back?
No, I never, not like that. Just wasn't my personality. But I went into a locker room in New England that, like Shalrie Joseph wasn't going to let you do it. Like Taylor Twellman wasn't going to let you do it. So those were more, old school guys that held things to a certain standard in a certain way. But yeah, I think that, Joseph was the prime example in our locker room, right? Just of like so emotional and not really egotistical, I don't think, just more emotional, but of towing the line of like, that's too far versus, hey, this is what the team needs to hold ourselves accountable and push us and those types of things. We definitely had some cocky players throughout my career that I dealt with. And when things were going great, it was okay and good, and good guys to be around. And when things weren't, it was like, those are the first guys pointing fingers and not taking any blame. And, it's not my problem type attitude. And that's tough to navigate for sure.
I was going to say, how difficult is it to function as a unit when you have those, I'll use the word wild cards, when you have those kinds of individuals in a locker room? How difficult is that?
Yeah, I think that's why they call them like the cancers within the locker room, because they spread quickly, right? It's just like people kind of are swayed by those individuals sometimes, and that's the fear and within a locker room, right? Of how quickly does a bad egg spoil the rest of the locker room, and that's the fear of any coach when you're talking about, well, this guy's a great player, but oh man, he's got an attitude. Right. Well, if it's just one, you can manage it. But if that one has influence over 5 other guys within a locker room, then you've got a problem. And, that's the danger. And so that needs to be reeled in sometimes quickly before other guys get the feeling of, oh, you know what, I can get away with this too. Oh, I can act like this too. And I can do these things too. Because certain individuals have certain rights and certain things that they can get away with based off their skill. And, but also we're all so different, right? I was talking to a mentee the other day about, like, you have to find what works for you. And we were talking about nutrition. And I was talking about how Darlington Nagbe had the nutrition of like an 8-year-old. He was just unbelievable, but he was so ripped and so fit, and obviously such a good player. But then he's just eating like junk all the time. It's just unbelievable to see. But he's an outlier and an outcast. Like, you can't base your nutrition off of what Darlington ate, because it just doesn't work for the natural human being. And same thing with what we're talking about, right? Like, you can't base how you act off of the one guy that's got a crazy attitude that it works for him. And it maybe he toes the line and it's allowed a little bit because of his success on the field. Right. All that stuff comes into play.
Okay, so since you've opened this door, I guess this will start the Atlanta United section of the program. Yes, properly hydrate. Yes, please. Darlington and that diet. Have you ever, outside of seeing Darlington, has there been anybody else, short of maybe Marshawn Lynch, who just, dug Skittles or whatever, have you ever seen an individual with a diet plan brought to you by the Golden Arches that was as talented as Darlington was as a teammate? Have you ever seen anyone else with a diet plan like that be as successful as Darlington as a professional athlete?
Not like personally. I know Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, he talks about like eating McDonald's all the time as a professional. So he's one in another sport, but no teammates of mine, at least not high level performing teammates, where it was just like a shock to see and to witness.
When you tell the Darlington Nagbe diet plan to your mentees, what is their first reaction? Do you have to have them pick their jaw off the floor, considering all of the road work and the diet and the, and the vitamins and the milk and all that kind of stuff, quoting Hulk Hogan? But what's their first reaction when you're talking to mentees about Darlington and McDonald's?
You have to be careful how you say it, because I don't want them to be influenced, like, oh, he does it, so it's okay for me to do it type thing. It's definitely way more of like how I framed it earlier of, we're all such different human beings and there's outliers everywhere. And you have to understand if you're an outlier or not. And most of us are not.
Yes, that is true. But it makes you wonder, in the McDonald's diet, does he just strictly go to like the double quarter pounder with cheese, or does he actually go to the fillet of fish? Does he actually try the salad? Does he actually, do the smoothies? Does he, what is it just locked into like the nastiest stuff ever? Or does he actually go through the menu and sit there and look at things that are actually maybe remotely healthy? What did he unwrap in front of you?
The first preseason he joined Atlanta United, we were roommates, and you know, he opened up a backpack just full of like, as if you went to any convenience store and just like wiped down the candy chips aisle and just shoved it in your bag. Not only that, but like every night, almost every night, he would order room service food, so like burger and fries, you know, nothing like crazy, and an apple pie, you know, a little slice of apple pie with some ice cream.
Okay.
But so that was just crazy to me. You know, because, not that that's like the worst stuff, but it's not healthy stuff to be eating, especially in preseason.
No.
And not the candy as well. So yeah, that was an eye opener for me, just to see like, oh my gosh. But you know, I don't think it was so much a McDonald's thing. It was like, you know, basically you'd expect him to order off the kids menu. Chicken nuggets, burgers, you know, fettuccine Alfredo, you know, that type of stuff.
Apparently Usain Bolt loved his chicken McNuggets as well. So, you know, maybe there's.
I do remember hearing about that, about like, I think he was talking about the Olympic Village when I heard it. And I only stayed one night in the Olympic Village when we went to the Olympics, and we only stayed one night because Argentina was right above us, and they were up all night. And it really affected us. And so our coach was like, we're out of here. But the food at the Olympic Village, and this was in Beijing, was terrible. And there was a McDonald's within the cafeteria area. So I get why these athletes were like, you know, at some of these locations at the Olympics are, is like, okay, you want to put something in your body that it's kind of used to, or, you know, like it will digest okay. So, you know, I get it in that perspective.
Okay. We do have, since you know, since you did play for Atlanta United, and you know we're based here in Atlanta, we do have folks with an Atlanta United question. Top of the table, what do you think? 7 points, first 3 matches, and Hospital FC with Portland coming to town. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw the injury report for Portland, and that looks kindful to Atlanta United. You know, I think that they've struggled out of the gates. I usually don't see the West play that often, but for whatever reason, I forget who Portland's played. Maybe their first game was like a rain out, so they were on by themselves maybe on Monday. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it was the snow, and they had to push it. It was
So I've seen Portland play a couple times this season, which is kind of weird for me. But I haven't been really impressed. You know, you see signs from their new signing, the new 10 there, but they really haven't figured out how to get him the ball a lot. And I don't know. It's just their strikers looked terrible to me. I had to look him up to think, who is this guy? Because he was shockingly bad, I thought.
Wow.
But he's had some success in MLS, so I don't know. Maybe just had a bad start to the season. But anyways, Atlanta United, yeah. I mean, it's positive, right? It's the performance from Charlotte was very, very good. I take nothing away from that performance because it was fantastic. You know, very, very dominant performance, which was great to see, right? That's the Atlanta United that we want to see. You know, I think the 2 home games were a little bit underwhelming from my perspective. So I'm not quite yet on the boat of like, we're back, or, you know, we're title contenders or anything like that. Because I thought Almada bailed us out week 1. Week 2, we get Toronto, who didn't care to win that game. And, you know, we couldn't win the game. So, you know, I think overall the first 2 games were a little disappointing, but in the end, you know, you're as good as your points tell you you are. So, you know what, top of the table, 7 points and not playing your best. Hey, that's great. Right. You know, I think this is absolutely not only a winnable game, but this is another one of those like San Jose Toronto games where it's like, you need to win this game. This is like, I don't want to say free points because you still have to go out there and perform and play, but Portland's not a top team in my eyes. And they've got so many injuries that you got to win this game, especially at home. And then you're sitting at 10 points and you're in a good spot. So, I'm excited because we also haven't had 2/3 or half of our starting front attack start yet. And so when Etienne and Gigi do start, I think that'll provide a lift.
When a team like Toronto, and probably what I'm anticipating from Portland, when a team has zero interest in playing because of injuries, Toronto didn't have Insigne, so basically they played like the ball had cooties and just kicked it, and it's like we're giving you the responsibility of playing, and we're going to put 17 behind the ball and good luck to you. How difficult is that for a team to try to knock down that wall when all of the effort and all of the energy is going to be exerted by you on this day because of the external factors from the team that has come into your building? How difficult is a match like that?
It's tough. It's not easy to get those results. And that's where that first goal becomes so important, so crucial, especially if you can get it early. Right. But it's mental game as well of like, you feel like you can push 10 guys forward and then all of a sudden they catch you on the counterattack and you go down, and you feel like you can take all these risks and you need to take some for sure. But those are tough games, right? So don't get me wrong. Those are challenging games, but I'd still rather be on the team that's going into that game thinking we need to push, we need to score, than, oh shoot, we're going to go defend for 90 minutes and hopefully we can get one on the counterattack. I'd still much rather be United in that situation. So, it was good that they battled back from the deficit, because that's been a struggle for Atlanta United over the course of 5-6 years. So, that was good for sure within the first two games, and especially in the Toronto game with a team that's, like you said, sitting 12 guys behind the ball. So, definitely some positives to take away from it, but it's a huge challenge. And I always think sometimes in a game like that, right, where it's always like you're trying to push, press. I always thought, you know what, sometimes why don't we come back to our own half of the field and let them attack? Like, come attack us a little bit and let's see if we can catch you on the counter, right? And let it open up. See if maybe we can attack before they get 11 guys behind the ball, right? I don't know. It's just a different way to think about it. I always thought about it when I was playing, like, just let them come out, like, let them play, versus like every time we attack, I'm standing at the midfield line and everybody's, within that half of the field. So I don't know.
Almost drawing your opponent into a trap, knowing that they're going to be packing in. So you want to, it's like, okay, no, it's okay. It's okay. You can come out. It's
exactly.
Cool. And then hit them hard.
Exactly.
Okay. Question from Ricky Ricardo. Wanted to know thoughts about the success of Atlanta United's left backs. Feels like it has been and will be a strength for a while, including what we're seeing from Caleb Wiley when he plays left back, even when he's at left wing. What do you think about what's going on with the left backs here with Atlanta United?
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot there, especially going forward. I think Gutman is one of our most dangerous players going forward, no matter if he's playing center back, left back, wherever he is on the field. It's crazy. He's just popping up, and I think it's just due to his work ethic. He's just willing to go. That said, I think that, on the defensive side, we've probably seen some problems there, where other teams have kind of taken advantage of that position there. I've been a little bit surprised that they haven't switched at all, Wiley and Gutman. But then Wiley goes out and scores 2 goals against Charlotte. That's why I'm not a coach. But I think Wiley's done really well, especially in a position that's not his natural position. So I hope that he gets some extended time playing left back, because I think that'll be good for his overall development. But it's tough to take Gutman off the field because, you can see that the guys really like him. He's relied upon out there, and obviously he brings a lot to the team going forward. So it's definitely a good problem to have. But when Etienne is fully healthy, he's going to be starting on the wing. So interesting to see what they do with Wiley's minutes there.
Well, and at the same time, you're now in a year where you've got Open Cup and you have now Leagues Cup. So in a perfect world, you're probably playing close to 50 matches. And you need this kind of depth. And the fact that you're getting to see what Caleb Wiley can do on the left, whether it's wing or left back, is going to help because of, and I mean, you've been with teams that have done deep runs in alternate competitions, and you know how important depth is for a club that wants to make deep runs in multiple competitions. So when you've got guys showing up early in the season like Caleb, it gives you, I would think, a lot of assurance that, okay, when Etienne Jr. is healthy, we know Derek's going to start. But the fact that we can rely on Caleb at the same time, say in an Open Cup match or a Leagues Cup match, if we need to, that gives you that extra sense of security with everything going on these days.
Totally. So important, especially with, like you said, with all these tournaments and games and international call-ups and everything. So I think it's fantastic for him. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. And same thing with somebody like Noah Cobb. Right, we've got 2 center backs being called up for international duty. So, there's an opportunity for him as well. So the depth is always important. Always, always, always important. There'll be injuries throughout the year. Obviously, we saw it, extensively last year. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think that Wiley, it'll help his confidence that game for sure. Because I thought going forward, the first 2 games he struggled a little bit. So I think that it was awesome to see him get on the score sheet a couple of times, and I think that helped his confidence for sure in that position. And the depth is like you said, is going to be really important, especially if you want to have success in all these tournaments. And I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what anybody's plan is for this Leagues Cup, but I guess we'll see.
What do you think about Leagues Cup in general? Because it gives Major League Soccer the chance to challenge itself against the best in Liga MX. Yes, I know that it's, you can look at it as a television event, but at the same time, I don't think there's any better challenge than challenging yourself up against the best in a league that has no salary cap and can spend and do whatever they want. I think that if you want to challenge yourself and continue to be seen in the world sphere as a league that's not just the top 12, but probably a top 6 by 2026, that you want to have stuff like this in Leagues Cup. What have you thought about the idea of Leagues Cup?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm torn. In one sense, I still think that we hold MLS Cup way up here. And so because that's the case, and I know that the prize money in Leagues Cup is very good. And that's the motivating factor, to be completely honest, right? Because guys' salaries and bonuses are tied to MLS.
Yeah.
MLS play, not Open Cup, not Leagues Cup, nothing like that. So, to ask guys to go out there and give it everything they've got to this tournament that, you might make a couple extra bucks on, but it could affect seriously your financial outlay the rest of this year or maybe the future is tough. So, the prize money definitely factors in to how much guys are willing to go out and give it everything they got. And really, we can only base ourselves against these teams if they're both going for it and we're both going for it, right? If it's 2 teams playing their backups, then their backups are likely going to be better than our backups because, just the salary discrepancy. So I don't know. I still think Champions League is the biggest barometer of but I get that that's midseason for Mexican teams and it's early in the season for U.S. teams. So it kind of puts us at a little bit of a deficit. So maybe this midseason tournament is more equal for us as MLS teams. But again, it's just how teams are going to approach it. And if both sides go for it, I get it. Then the Mexican league has got so many more fans than MLS in general. And so MLS is trying to take advantage of some of that and bring them over and have them watch and all that stuff. So I get it. The potential's there and we're still trying to grow it. So I'll be interested to see some of it for sure.
All right. So last question, and I apologize if we go a little AET this morning. It has to do with Verde. Since you are wearing green, there you go. Yeah, there it is. Man, at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting there with that one. I tell you, right there with you, brother. Austin losing to Violette, who in the Dominican Republic in League One scores 3. Amro Tarek had an absolute banger. Unfortunately, it was an own goal. You're down 3-0 to a team that hadn't played in 289 days. You come back to Austin, Texas. They only can call an NPSL team in New Jersey, grab a couple of players with relationships with Violette FC, and it's apparently okay. They come up with 11 and 3 reserves and walk out with the tie. What did you think about that kind of a seismic result? You're talking about Champions League being, one of the markers or the marker here in this hemisphere, and you have a team like Violette come up and bite you like that if you're a Major League Soccer team.
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying I did not watch the away game. I had no interest in watching the away game, but that just shows the naivety, if that's a word.
It is.
Of a team that's never played Champions League. To go down there, it's not even at their home stadium. There's no atmosphere. To lose 3-0, I don't care if you play your academy team. You can't lose that game 3-0. Mm-hmm. That's shocking. Regardless, lose the game 3-0. You come back and you play your starters, you should win that game 5-0. Mm-hmm. So it's an embarrassment. It's embarrassment for the, I don't think for MLS, because like these things happen, right? I mean, upsets happen. It's an embarrassment for Austin for sure. I could see, I watched the second half of that game. And obviously at that point, Austin were pushing, but I couldn't believe it 0-0 at halftime. Like, that's terrible. And obviously Josh Wolf walks right off afterwards after shaking the other coach's hand, which you don't see him do very often. So, an embarrassment for the club for sure, especially for a good team. Like Austin are good. They're not just sneaking up on teams, and they're not just like, lucky to, they're good. I like watching them play. I like Wolf as a coach, and they've got a good team. So shocking on so many levels.
Yeah. Folks want to know what you thought about Owen's banger. Assuming that you know the Wolves, what do you think about the Owen Wolf goal?
Yeah, I was happy for him. Yeah, that was great to see. I think that there's always that difficulty of playing your son, where it's like people view it like, are you doing him favors? Has he earned it? Right. But from what I've seen from him play, I mean, shoot, even in that Violetta game, he almost scored a banger on a bicycle sidewinder thing late in the game. He's looked good. So. I was happy for him. He took advantage of that Salt Lake City air and scored a banger, but happy for him. But yeah, I think that Wolf, I don't know what the preparation was going into that game down in, the DR or wherever they played that game.
It was DR, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously wasn't good enough. Like those second team guys, that's a failed opportunity to, if I'm Wolf, I'm looking at some of these guys like, do I trust you to, go into a big game now? Because they failed miserably. Anyone that was on that field,
no doubt. All right, what's going on with Beyond Goals so you can get out of here and I wish you had another beer.
I will have another beer.
There you go.
No, we're close to working a little bit more extensively with the Atlanta United Academy, so working on that. So that would be super exciting down the road.
Very cool. MF Parkhurst on the Twitters at BG Mentoring. Get out of here and please fulfill your shirt. Please be safe and enjoy your St. Patrick's Day, my friend.
You too. Enjoy the March Madness. We'll catch you later.
Be good. Michael Parkhurst hanging out with us. And so there you go. And we had a little AET with Cap going past 10 o'clock. All right. So it is hour number 2 on a Friday, which means one thing. But before that, let's see. So 13, you guys, you said 13 worked when it came to the music. So we'll go to 13. There's 13. We're out of loop. Time to read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. That's 13, and that sounds low to me. A Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like dead cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to help them sell their homes that much faster and eliminate all those bad odors. The turnkey process makes it easier to work with realtors and property managers kind of the environment. offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either beneath the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach beneath the sink or above us in the cupboard, spray that masking agent into the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. It just masks the odor, doesn't attack the problem, all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. 2 ways to take care of pricing, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website, and this is where I pick up my pen. Eliminize.com is where you go. But do us a favor, after the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, so they can help you with your issues. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors for everything SDH. Go ahead and send in your grades on a Freestyle Friday. All right. Now it's time for the Weekend Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming, probably, hopefully, sooner rather than later. And this is where we run through all of the matches in Major League Soccer. Yeah, see, Joe, that's the thing. I had it at 13, and you ain't hearing nothing. So I don't know. I had it at 12, and people were saying it was too loud or it was too soft. This is dealing like with Goldilocks in the beds, trying to figure out a suitable volume to read the promos. 12 apparently was too soft. 13 apparently for some was okay. Today, at least in my ear, it sounded way too low. So I have no idea. I'm going by what it says on the numbers on the board because, you know, you'd like to kind of trust what they're telling you. So, okay. All right. So that was 13. So this is 15 today. This is what 15 sounds like today. See, now 15 today actually doesn't sound too bad. That's weird. So this is 15 today. That sounds about where it should be, but that's 15. Monday, 15 could be too loud. It just could be. I have no idea. No clue. All right. So anyway, that's your promo. We're into hour number 2. And it's time for the Weekend Whiparound. Patent pending, trademark coming. This is where we go over juice boxes and get you ready for games and get you ready for every frickin' thing going on the planet when it comes to Major League Soccer for the weekend. Jarrett's set to join us here in hour number 2. Hopefully Jason will be able to join us in hour number 2 as he's spending time over at 92.9 with breaking down Hospital FC and Atlanta United on Saturday night. So it'll be great to see everybody there. Once again, programming reminder for those of you here on the network, 5:30 and 7:30, Brookwood and Archer tonight in high school soccer in the GHSA. Should be a really good girls match. Should be a really good boys matchup. But for those of you in Gwinnett County, the Battle of Five Forks Trickham is actually next week. Brookwood and Parkview is actually next Friday. So if you really are interested in the Battle of Five Forks Trickham, Brookwood and Parkview, that's next Friday. Oh, Sean, by the way, Friday. There we go. We got that on before Jason came on. All right. 4 o'clock, Seattle and LAFC. This one is on Fox, and it's also on the free version of Apple TV. So right now, your juice boxes, Seattle is a favorite. Seattle's a favorite at a plus 120. Your draw's a plus 254. LAFC is a plus 213 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Fun facts in this one. LAFC won their inaugural MLS match 1-0 at Seattle in March of 2018. Since then, Seattle is unbeaten in 6 straight home matches against LAFC, winning 4. The March 2018 win is one of only 2 road wins by either team in the series, Seattle winning the Western Final in 2019 being the other. Following the 1-0 defeat at Cincinnati on Saturday, Seattle returns home where they won their first 2 matches, 6-0 total. Seattle won their first 3 home matches of a season twice before doing so in 19 and 21, with the third win in 21 coming over LAFC. LAFC has won back-to-back matches to open a season for the third time in club history. They did it in 2018 and 19, but it marks only the second time since the year 2000 that a defending MLS Cup champ has won its first 2 matches of a season. Colorado won their first 3 back in 2011. Jordan Morris, as well as the injured Eber, he's supposed to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks, according to Nico Moreno, who was on with us yesterday for Thursdays with Nico. Jordan Morris scored in each of Seattle's first 2 home matches this year. The only Sounders player to score in the first 3, Obafemi Martins, back in 2015. Denny Bouanga, you might want to keep an eye on him for fantasy. Scored twice, assisted a third in LAFC's 4-0 win over New England on Sunday, and it was ugly. Bouanga's contributed to 4 goals in 2 matches this year, 2 goals, 2 assists, after recording only 3 goal contributions, all goals in 10 matches for LA last term, including the playoffs. And that reminds me, before we go, I will tell you what my roster is in fantasy, and we all can compare and contrast. So if you feel like posting your lineup for fantasy, please feel free to do so. All right. So, I mean, this is leaning. I don't know what you guys think about this one. And Abby, thank you for the yes. Good. Abby, thank you for the reminder that we now have season ticket availabilities when it comes to MLS Next Pro. Abby, public service. If you're a season ticket holder, go into your KSU ticket portal to renew. And the first match is on MLSNextPro.com, apparently. Okay, so that's news by Ricky Ricardo. Thank you, Abby. It was fun. It was fun to do 20 games or 20 events in 4 days and not talk on Sunday and get barbecue on the way home. So that was, thank you for that. Yes. Okay. So it's Friday. You can handle the noise. 15 sounded like 13. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, people. I don't know. All right. So, I'm thinking draw, but I'm thinking also the over with Seattle and LAFC being at 4:00. So we'll keep an eye on that one. That's just me. We're going to skip Atlanta and Portland because of review from other individuals later. So we'll talk about it in depth. CF Montreal, Philadelphia Union. CF Montreal is favored at a plus 152. Philadelphia Union's a plus 172, and your draw is a plus 241. Fun facts. When it comes to this particular matchup, this one's on MLS Season Pass. It is not a part of Free Apple. Union unbeaten in their last 6 meetings with CF Montreal, going back to the start of the 2020 season. 6-game is the longest active unbeaten streak for any team against Montreal, along with Nashville, who defeated Montreal 2-0 on Saturday. CF Montreal's 5th team in MLS history to start a season with no goals, no points after 3 matches, though the previous 2, NYC in 2020, Seattle in 2018, both made the playoffs. Only Toronto FC is in its expansion year 2007, lost their first 4 matches of an MLS season without scoring a goal. While the Union have won 13 straight home MLS matches, including playoffs, managed just 2 wins in their last 8 on the road, losing 4, including playoffs. Philadelphia's allowed 9 goals in their last 3 on the road after allowing just 7 in their previous 11 MLS away matches. CF Montreal recorded an XG of .29 against Nashville last week, despite holding 65% of possession, completing 531 passes, 60% of those in the attacking half. Since 2014, no team has recorded a lower XG in an MLS match in which they completed at least 300 passes in the attacking half. Joaquin Torres scored the winning goal for the Union in the 90th minute Saturday from nearly 32 yards out. First goal from outside the box for the Union since August 31st last year. Prior to Torres' goal, Philadelphia failed to score with its previous 52 shots from outside the box in MLS play, including playoffs. I got to go with Philadelphia here. To me, this is a line mistake. Philadelphia at a plus 172 is your underdog going to CF Montreal. Yes, I know they played in the midweek. So I think they took care of business. I got to go with CF Montreal here. Also at 7:30, the Revs in Nashville. Revs are a plus 141. Nashville's a plus 202, and your draw is a plus 223. Do we need to go any further? I don't know. We'll see what the fun facts are, at least out of the blocks, and see if it is worth anything. This one's on Season Pass. So New England and Nashville. 3 of the 4 previous meetings ended in draws, Nashville winning the other 2-0 in August of 2021 at home. Both previous meetings in Foxborough have ended goalless. Then this one is at Gillette. This one is at Gillette in the middle of nowhere, Joe Bost. After winning their first 2 matches of the season for the first time in club history, Revs lost 4-0 at LAFC on Sunday. Still, a Revs win Saturday would give them 9 points, be their second best start to a season in club history. 10 points through 4 in 2005 is the other one. Nashville opened the season with 3 straight clean sheets, 7 points. Only 2 teams in MLS history, the Whitecaps in 2012, Red Bulls in 2007, held their opponents scoreless in each of their first 4 matches. I just don't know where New England is going to get their scoring punch from. I really don't. So we'll see. But no, I don't know where it's going to come from. I've got to go Nashville here at a plus 202. NYC and DC United, pretty much the same thing. NYC is a minus 159. Your draws a plus 307. DC United is a plus 411. I just don't see it there either. I got to go with the favorite. There are a lot of decided favorites this week, and understandably so. Red Bulls and Crew also at 7:30. Red Bulls a minus 123. Your draws a plus 249. Crew are a plus 363. And this one is also on a season pass at Red Bull Arena. So 7:39 kick. 5 meetings between, fun facts. 5 meetings between Red Bulls and Crew since the start of the 2021 season have been split, both sides winning once, drawing once. All 5 games decided by 1 goal or drawn. The last 4 meetings featured a result-changing goal in the 87th minute or later. Ricky, you're not wrong. Red Bulls, drawn 2 and lost 1, are winless in their first 3 matches of a season for the first time since 2014, despite conceding only 2 goals. New York is one of 6 teams in MLS history to concede 2 or fewer goals in their first 3 matches of the season, but failed to win any of them. Crew came from behind to draw Toronto 1-1 Saturday, avoiding defeat for the 10th time in their last 13 road games, winning 3, drawing 7. That draw marked the 9th straight match Columbus has failed to win on the road. They've drawn 6 of them. Their last away victory coming in Chicago in early July. Red Bulls faced only 3 shots on target in their first 3 matches of the year, 2 of those finding the net. 3 shots on target are the fewest faced by a team in their first 3 matches of a season since the Galaxy, also facing 3 in 2010. Jimmy Medranda scored his 10th MLS goal, 5th from outside the box in the draw for Columbus against Toronto. Since 2013, when Medranda joined MLS, one of 4 players, Espinoza, Zelarayan, and Leal, to score 10 or more goals, with at least half of them coming from outside the box. Yeah, I know that a lot of you are looking at this one going, yeah, feels like an ugly one. I'm not disagreeing. I'm thinking there might be goals scored. I say might. I'm thinking draw. You're not going to get a whole lot. So I would go under and draw with that one. Also at 7:30, Orlando City and Charlotte. And I apologize. I said Orlando City. I did not say Purple Team. Purple Team and Charlotte. Charlotte's a plus 257. Your draw is basically a plus 250. Purple Team's a plus 104. I got to go with the Purple Team here, even though they lost in the midweek. And they are going to have issues with said loss for quite some time. Oscar Pareja got a red card in his post-match discussion, but I got to go Purple Team here as an angry Purple Team going up against Charlotte. Toronto FC against Inter Miami. Toronto FC, no Insigne, no Akinola, and no Dio, I believe. And they're favored at home against Inter Miami. Toronto FC is a plus 102. Inter Miami is a plus 252. Your draw is a plus 258. Let's see what they have to say on this one, just for the sake of seeing it. And this is also a free TV pick at 7:30 on Apple. So for those of you interested in this one from BMO Field, here's your fun facts. Inter Miami's won 5 straight against Toronto after losing the first meeting in 2020. Miami's 5 wins, most against any opponent in MLS play, while the 5 consecutive defeats equal Toronto's longest losing streak against any opponent in MLS history, equaling Seattle from 2010 to 2013. Toronto FC conceded a 75th minute equalizer in the 1-1 draw with Crew after scoring first. Toronto's led in all 3 of their matches this year, failed to win in any of them. becoming the first team in MLS history to drop points from winning positions in each of their first 3 matches. After winning their first 2 games of the year 1-0, Inter Miami lost at NYC on Saturday. Dating back to last season, including playoffs, Miami's recorded 6 wins, 6 defeats in their last 12 matches, scoring 17, conceding 18. So, goal and a half scored, goal and a half allowed. No draws. 6 wins, 6 losses in their last 12. Toronto FC was held to just 7 shot attempts in their draw with Crew on Saturday. Third straight match with 7 or fewer shots. Toronto's 18 shots so far this season, fewest by any team in their first 3 matches of the season since at least 2010. And there you go. There you go. So that's what you're staring at in that one. And you're going, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. And that's the topic. That'll be a question that we hopefully can get answered, and we'll look at it. Yeah, so that's, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it gets laid out with Gigi and with Almada. And so we can talk about that next week when we see who's gone for how long, when they're leaving, and all that kind of stuff. So what's it going to look like heading to Columbus? That will be the interesting questions posed here. 8:30. Chicago and Cincinnati. And once again, this one could be another line mistake. It's on season pass. It's not one of the free ones. Chicago fires a plus 154. Your draw's a plus 239. FC Cincinnati is a plus 171. Fun facts. Soldier Field at 8:39 kick. Matchup has been evenly matched since Cincinnati joined the league in 2019, each team securing 3 wins and 2 draws. However, of the 4 matches played in Chicago, Cincinnati has won 3, with the Fire's only win taking place in August of 2020. Chicago conceded the first goal of the match in their season opener against NYC, failed to score against Philly on Saturday. Excluding St. Louis, only one team has scored the first goal of a game fewer times than the Fire's 12 since the beginning of last season. DC 11. FC Cincinnati tied with Atlanta and Nashville, 7 points atop the East. Cincinnati's lost just 2 of their last 23 regular season matches dating back to June. They did draw 13 of those, though one of those defeats came at the hands of the Fire, 3-2 in October. Fire center back Rafael Sijos led his team with 3 tackles, 1 against Philadelphia, maintaining his perfect tackle success on the season at 5 for 5. Only one player has a perfect tackle success while winning more tackles so far this season. Cole Bassett in Colorado is 7 for 7. Brenner has scored the only goal of the game against Seattle, his 24th regular season goal for FC Cincinnati, excluding penalties. That tie has him with Cincinnati, ties him with Cincinnati all-time team in non-penalty goals in the regular season with Brandon Vasquez. I still feel like this is a line mistake. I really do. This one to me, that's a line mistake. So how many of these have we seen so far? And we still have 5 matches to talk about. But how many of these seem like line mistakes so far? Philadelphia being an underdog at Montreal. Nashville being an underdog at Revs. Toronto being a favorite against Inter Miami, but it is in Miami. So 3, and then Fire being a favorite at home against FC Cincinnati. So 3, possibly 4 line mistakes so far in the matches. 8:30 also, and this one is on the free version of Apple, FC Dallas and Sporting Kansas City. FC Dallas a minus 108, and Sporting is a plus 284 on the road. Your draw is a plus 258. I don't know. This one might be they play better at home, so we'll see. All right, so here's our fun facts for FC Dallas and Sporting. FC Dallas beat Sporting 2-1 at home on decision day last year to end a 4-match winless run against them in all comps, losing the 3 of them. Daniel Shallowy scored 6 MLS goals against FC Dallas, more than against any other team, including 4 of Sporting's last 7 MLS goals in the fixture. FC Dallas has opened its season with 4 points in 3 games, hitting each one of the categories, win, loss, draw, for the 5th consecutive season. Dallas has conceded a goal in 9 straight matches dating back to last season, including playoffs, tied with Toronto FC for the longest active streak in Major League Soccer. Sporting has played back-to-back scoreless draws, first in Colorado and then at home against LAG. In fact, the only goal scored or conceded in a Sporting match this season came in the 6th minute of its first match, the 1-0 loss to Portland, as they haven't scored or conceded in 263 minutes since. Sebastian Ibeagha celebrated his 100th MLS appearance, regular season, and playoffs Saturday with his first career goal. Mazel tov in Dallas's 1-1 draw with Vancouver. Ibeagha is the second player to score his first career goal in his 100th appearance, joining Tyrell Harden, who did so at San Jose in 2015. And Sporting is scoreless through 3 matches despite hitting an MLS high 26 shots on target, including 11 in each of the last 2 matches. In fact, those 26 shots on target equal the most by any team through 3 matches of an MLS season since 2010 LAFC in 2020, who had 7 goals. So, okay, the lack of scoring from Sporting does make sense in the idea of Dallas being a decided favorite here on that particular side of the ledger. So, okay, I can see this one being what it is. All right, I can see this one. All right, now, here's another one that might be a line mistake. Once again at 8:30 Eastern Time. And we'll see if this one is on the free version of Apple TV as well. Part of Copa Tejas at Shell Energy Stadium. Houston Dynamo are a plus 137. A plus 137. Your draw is a plus 250. Austin, coming off of the loss to the tie to Violette in CONCACAF Champions League, are a plus 185. So Austin going to Houston is an underdog. This could be number 4 or 4.5, depending on how you're looking at things when it comes to line mistakes. So here's how they're laying this one out for you. 8:39 kick at Shell Energy Stadium. Austin FC's won 4 of their 5 against Houston, including the last 3 in a row. Austin's 4 wins over the Dynamo are the most against any opponent in MLS play, while their 3 straight wins equals the team's longest winning streak against any opponent, 3 against Sporting Kansas City. Houston has lost their first 2 matches of the season for the first time in club history. Dynamo have collected at least 2 points from their first 3 matches in all but one season, taking just 1 point from their first 3 games in 2009. Austin has won consecutive MLS matches after losing their season opener to St. Louis City SC. This is Austin's first set of consecutive MLS wins since a run of 4 straight victories in June and July last season, a run that included a 3-1 win over the Dynamo. Hector Herrera has completed an average of 68 passes per 90 minutes through 2 appearances this year, third most in MLS among players to play at least 120 minutes. Owen Wolff recorded a goal and an assist in Austin's 2-1 win over Real Salt Lake on Saturday. His assist on John Gallagher's 9th-minute goal was a final pass of a 19-pass buildup. Longest passing sequence on a goal in Austin FC's MLS history and the longest in the league so far this season. So those are your fun facts there. That's what you're looking at in this Copa Tejas. I still think that Austin is a line mistake. I got to go with Austin here. And I want to know what the lineup looks like. But the biggest thing that Austin has to figure out is who's going to help them with their scoring punch, because everybody and their mother's going to sit there and triple team Sebastian Driussi. Who's going to be the other one to help out? Is it Owen Wolff? Is it John Gallagher? Is it a mix? You got to figure out who it's going to be. Who's going to be up there up top to help out Austin? That's the other problem. Last one at 8:30. St. Louis City SC hosting Jarrett Smith's San Jose Earthquakes. This one's on season pass. Right now, your juice box is here. St. Louis City is a minus 116, so they're a favorite at home. Draws a plus 273. It's changing and dropping as we're talking about it. And San Jose to win is basically a plus 300 in the composite. So at City Park, in all caps, 8:39 Eastern kick. San Jose is unbeaten against expansion teams since 2019, winning 3 and drawing 1. One of 4 teams in that time without a loss, excluding St. Louis, obviously, joining Columbus, LAFC, and Seattle. Quakes, however, just 2 wins in their first away match against an MLS expansion team, drawing 5, losing 7, including a breakaway shootout loss. St. Louis earned a 2-1 win against Portland despite conceding in the 3rd minute of the match. St. Louis is the first MLS team to record 3 straight come-from-behind wins since LAG in August of 2015. First team ever to do so in the first 3 matches of a season. Since the beginning of last season, San Jose just has 1 win in 20 road matches in all competitions, losing 13 of them. Tied with the Rapids for fewest road wins, all comps by an MLS team in that time. For comparison, St. Louis has won both their road games as an MLS franchise. Edward Lewin, Joao Klaus, each have at least 1 goal contribution, either a goal or an assist, in all 3 of St. Louis's matches. Klaus and Lewin joined Vela and Rossi as the only pair of teammates this century to each have a goal contribution in their first 3 MLS games while doing so in the same games. Never thought I would hear Edward Lewin and Joao Klaus in the same sentence as Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi. Cristian Espinoza was the difference in San Jose's 1-0 win over Colorado. Espinoza now has a run of play outside the box goal in each of the last 4 seasons. Longest active season streak of any such goals among all of MLS players. So once again, San Jose's horrible road form going into City Park. City's favorite at a -116. 2 matches to go. And go ahead and post your thoughts about Atlanta United. I'll go back in the timeline, obviously, and look at them too. But since we save Atlanta United traditionally for last, then get your questions in for Atlanta United, your questions and your thoughts for Atlanta United and Portland Timbers. Colorado, Minnesota. Colorado and the Prairie Dogs are favored at a +112 at 9:30 Eastern time. Your draw and Minnesota are basically the same, both hovering around +240 in your juice boxes. And this one is on free TV on Apple, as is LA and Vancouver at 10:30. So your 2 late matches, both on the free version of Apple TV. So fun facts for Colorado, Minnesota. And it's at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And there's an article that I've got to find about the land in and around Dick's Sporting Goods Park that was somewhat troubling and concerning, but I'll find it and we'll talk about it probably on Monday. Colorado unbeaten in their 6 all-time home matches against Minnesota United, including wins in each of the last 5 home fixtures. Rapids have only 3 longer regular season home win streaks against a single team in club history, with the most recent being a 6-game streak against Vancouver from 2013 to 16. Rapids coming off a 1-0 loss to the Earthquakes, the team's 3rd consecutive game without scoring a goal to start the 2023 season. Only 2 teams, 2015 version of the Rapids and Toronto FC in 2007, have started a season with 4 straight goalless matches. Minnesota United completed 172 of 350, 49%. Their 1-1 draw with Red Bulls. Of course, it was an orange ball game. Only MLS team since 2010 to complete less than half their passes in a single MLS game. Set a club record for lowest passing accuracy. Previous was 55% versus LAFC in 2019. Making his season debut against San Jose, Brian Acosta led the Rapids with 9 tackles, most tackles by a Rapids player since 2017, with Dylan Powers, who had 11 in April against Orlando, and the most by an MLS player in a season debut since 2021. Alexander Ring had 10. Marco Farfan had 9. Bongokule Longwane scored Minnesota's lone goal against Red Bulls Saturday, 1st of the season, 3rd of his career, first South African player to score an MLS in consecutive seasons since Danley Borman, 2008, 9, and 10 for Red Bulls. Probably chasing with the Prairie Dogs in this one. And we got 1 match to go. Actually, we have 2 matches to go, and we're going to trim that margin because this guy.
Hey.
Welcome back, sir.
What's up?
Well, first and foremost, what has it been like up at practice this week as Atlanta's been getting ready for, as Nico Moreno calls them, Hospital FC?
Yeah, basically Portland, I don't know what their practices are looking like these days with all the injuries, probably trying to wrap guys in bubble wrap so we don't have more for the Timbers. We'll hear, I think, from Giovanni Savarese today. They traveled yesterday to Atlanta, so media availability on the Portland side's a little off schedule and trying to figure that out. From the Atlanta side, I mean, it's rolling. It's in a good spot. And as Gonzalo Pineda has said this week, said it last week too, about they've worked really hard to get to where they are. The intensity levels in preseason were higher than they've ever been, going back to the Tata Martino days. You can actually measure these things in terms of intensity, in terms of workload, in terms of the number of sprints, all these kinds of things that sports science people do. It's been more intense than ever before. So this week was a little bit more of a maintenance week rather than an adding intensity week. When you get to this point in the season too, you're starting to think a little bit more in those lines. And the session that Tuesday was fully open, got to see the whole thing. And I love that Gonzalo's coming over and speaking to everybody before and kind of walking through what the activities are going to be. I've been around the block a few times, so I have a pretty good sense if it's an activity I haven't seen. I kind of can figure out what the purpose is, but I think it's really good for everyone to hear. And one of the things he said was, we're going to have a shorter session in terms of, time, but the intensity will be high. And the way they did it on Tuesday, you had activities that generally went like 60 to 90 seconds at full intensity. You were not, if you watch a bad team practice and you see an activity that'll go 5 minutes, usually what happens is it's meandering, kind of slow paced for the first 1, first 2, first 3 minutes, maybe 4, and then picks up at the end. What Gonzalo Pineda is demanding out of his team is, no, whistle blows, you go 100% full speed. You do not stop till the whistle blows, period. And then you're going to get to rest. And it looked really, really good. Super intense, lots of communication, good vibes, obviously, coming off of the win in Charlotte. But it was the intensity level that jumped out to me. Not long bursts of intensity, but short bursts that were useful and were important. They were working a lot on playing through pressure. They were working a lot on connecting in those moments. They were working on counter pressure. That's something that is going to be included in most of their activities this season. And look, you saw why against Charlotte. They couldn't play. You saw it against Toronto. They couldn't play out of the back. Charlotte, you forced some mistakes. You got goals out of it. That's what you're doing all of this for. So really good week, really good Tuesday session that we got to see the whole thing. Yesterday, Thursdays, just for people who might not know, we get to see the first, really varies a little bit depending on what they're working on. We get to see really through the warm-up, and through the rondos. Rondos are always part of every training session. Teams that are possession-based, that's typical. It's an activation kind of activity, but it's also a culture building activity. It's also a technical activity. It includes so many different things. So Thursdays, we only get to see through that point. We don't see what they're working on from a tactical perspective on a Thursday. But everything I saw Tuesday and Thursday looked really, really good. Players seemed to be in good spirits. Brad Gazan spoke yesterday. Gonzalo obviously spoke. It was a good week of training.
What kind of a match, and I'll preface this by the conversation that I had with Nico Moreno on Thursdays with Nico, in anticipating what kind of a match we're seeing considering Portland's current state of a lack of healthy people. I asked him, I said, are you anticipating once again a team coming to Atlanta and basically saying, all right, we're going to have you exert all the energy and you're just going to have to try to batter down this wall of 17 players behind the ball kind of a thing? What kind of a match are you actually anticipating here?
I don't think it's going to be to that degree. If it turns into that degree, I think it's because Atlanta has turned the game there. I think Portland will be pragmatic here. And I'm not saying pragmatic in a defensive sense as it gets overused in soccer. It's what the word literally means. They have certain things that they have available, and they have a lot of things they don't have available. They don't have many wingers, period, at the moment. They don't really have a number 10 at the moment without Sebastian Blanco, without Evander. So you then say, all right, well, what can I do without wingers and without a 10 to be competitive? And it really puts you into what we saw the second half against LAFC from them and the game against St. Louis. It's a 3-5-2/5-3-2 because your width is going to come from those wing backs that were playing fullback before in a 4-3-3. Gives them a little more freedom to go. And Juan David Mosquera, very good player on the right side. Claudio Bravo, very good player on the left side. They can both get forward. They can both cause problems. If you pin them in and they can't play out of the back and they just have to play direct, Atlanta will be happy with that. You're still going to have to break down a team that is going to be back and have numbers behind the ball. And there's going to be moments, like it or not, for Portland that they're going to have to do that. That's just the nature of what they have to work with at the moment. But I don't think they come in. I don't think Giovanni Savarese is sitting there with his team today and saying, don't pass the midfield line. Don't get into the middle third. Everybody behind the ball. I don't think that's his mentality. I think his mentality is to find a way to win. And he just doesn't have a lot of ways to do that right now. And that's just reality. We went through this with Atlanta United last year. And I thought one of the interesting things that Gonzalo said at media this week was, he was really happy that he stuck with his principles, his way of playing last year. Could they have gotten some results if they had abandoned those and just tried to get behind the ball and just sat back and defended because you were missing pieces? Maybe. We don't know, because just because you say you're going to defend well doesn't mean you actually defend well. If you're a team that's built to play on the front foot and you decide to play sitting back, doesn't mean you're going to be successful at it just because you say you're going to do it. But he said he was happy that they stuck to their principles and played their game because it's helping them now. Now, Portland is it's different because you're literally in the situation of you don't have width in the attacking end of the field right now, and you don't have a 10. So you can have principles of play, and I think Gio is maybe not as rigid in those. I think he is a little bit more of all right, I'm going to take what I have to work with and make it work and get the best results I can with that. And there's managers who have great success with it. I don't think he's a, dyed in the wool counter pressing guy. He's not a dyed in the wool, possession guy. I think he's a pragmatist, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I think Portland will come in and be competitive. I think they'll be difficult to deal with. I think they'll fight for him because they always do. Savarese is one of the best coaches in the league, period. And he's been able to win in a variety of different ways during his time in Portland. So if he comes in and makes life difficult for Atlanta tomorrow, I'm not going to be surprised at all. I like the matchup from an Atlanta perspective. Without those wingers, I like the idea of being able to create 2v1s on those wing backs and pin them in. I love the idea of Mosquera having to defend a lot in this game with Wiley and Gutman both attacking him on that side. Same on the other side with Bravo, with Araujo and Lennon. I love that. But it doesn't mean just because it looks good on paper that it plays out well on the field. How does Portland try to get a second player over there? Is it a midfielder who slides over? We don't know yet. It's going to be interesting to see. The chess match could be very intriguing here.
When it comes to participants and injuries, I guess I know a lot of folks were looking at stuff in the midweek, and that's the midweek. What do we know, or how much do we know about who may not be a part of the lineup for Atlanta United on the weekend?
I don't. What was the issue in the midweek?
What was it? Hosechu, I think, was being.
Yeah, Gonzalo said yesterday he's still out. That hasn't changed. He hasn't trained, so they're going to be careful with him, and you can be, because Amar Sejdic had a really good performance in Charlotte. A Johnny Fortune chomping at the bit for more playing time, and he's very close. He got his debut in Charlotte. Santi Sosa chomping at the bit for more playing time. He got his season debut in Charlotte after the suspension. So you don't have to rush Hosechu back with a hamstring issue that could linger if you do rush him back. So, yeah, he's out, and he was the Alonso obviously still working back from the knee issue. It sounds like from what Pineda said to the media that he had progressed, and then not a setback, but just maybe a slowdown in the progression. So they've kind of reworked it a little bit. He's now pushing forward again. Don't know really timeline in terms of joining full team training, but Alonso's making progress again, which is good to hear. Hosechu, maybe next week, he's back on the training pitch. And I think that's everybody else. Now, next week is a whole different conversation when you start dealing with international absences, and we'll get there next week.
I was going to say we'll postpone that one for next week. How many more minutes do we have you?
I'm free. I'm not in a rush.
Okay. The younger players, and since you mentioned a Johnny Fortune, I wanted to spend some time on what it's been like for you and Mike to see Caleb Wiley, a Johnny Fortune, and this is mainly in training and getting minutes late. Guys like Noah Cobb, a Johnny Fortune, Caleb Wiley. What's it like to see them evolve this season?
But I think it's not about just in training and getting minutes late for these guys. And, that's not the story, because these guys are full members of this club. And I think what you should have taken away from Saturday and Caleb Wiley starting it off with his performance and a Johnny Fortune ending it is Atlanta United's academy is in a really good spot. And when you have these training sessions with that level of intensity and to push the intensity as far as they have so far this season, you can do that when you have young players who can push that. When you don't have young players pushing it, when you don't have competition within the squad, it's hard to get that intensity. It's not easy to manufacture when you have a team that's been around for a long time and they've kind of been there, done that. We've talked about this with successful teams before that don't reload. Intensity levels drop. It's just, it's human nature. And when you have these young guys coming through, whether it's a Johnny pushing Amar, pushing Mateus, pushing Franco, pushing Santi for playing time, pushing Osvaldo. Osvaldo's looking from the outside. He sees it. He wants to get back on the field because he knows, look, there's not going to be a whole lot of minutes right now. There's not. Johnny Fortune is pushing through to get him. Noah Cobb pushing through to start next week. There's going to be an opportunity for him potentially next week with Miles Robinson away, with possibly Luis Abram away. Peru's roster I have not seen as of yet. Wouldn't surprise me if Abram is part of it. And Caleb Wiley, obviously, Derek Etienne sees that. And he's like, man, I came here to start and I had the injury and I'm not getting to start over the MLS Player of the Week right now. Like, that's what you want. And then it goes further. And it goes further than that, because you're getting guys like Luke Brennan in training sessions. You're getting guys like Alan Carlton in training sessions.
I wanted to get into that, yeah.
Those guys are pushing the envelope too. And when you have all of this competition, you get better training sessions, you get more intense training sessions, and you get guys having to earn those minutes on the field. It raises the level of everything. So when the academy can get to this stage this quickly, Fortune was the 10th player to play for the first team in a competitive match who had come through the academy. And there's a whole lot more coming. When you're able to get to that point in 7 seasons to have 10 guys play competitive games for the first team, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal, because this group, Fortune came in a little bit later in age, but this group with Alan Carlton, with Caleb Wiley, with Luke Brennan, Ephraim Morales is still there with the twos. He's pushing. He's got to have a big year this year. He's got to feel that competition. Jackson Conway's been here from the early days. He's pushing for time. It's going to be a week where Yorgos Yakimakis is away. Jackson Conway wants to push into that rotation. He wants to get time. So when you get that, this generation from the academy has pretty much been there from day one. Few exceptions, guys coming in a little bit later, guys coming in maybe from other parts of the country, but they've grown up in the club. And I mean, I asked Brad Gazan, and the clip will be on March to Match Day later today if you haven't seen the media availability from yesterday. But I asked him about Caleb, and it's like, look, you've seen this kid out here since he was 10, 11 years old. You've watched him literally grow up in the club. What does that mean to you as the captain of the club, to see him have the performance that he did? And that's what you're trying to do, because when you can develop those guys internally, everything rises, and you create even deeper than we already see now, the Atlanta United way, the Atlanta United DNA, the Atlanta United idea of how you want to play and what kind of players you're looking for.
When you have conversations with Matt Lowry about this development, what's it like to see how Matt is responding and reacting to all of this growth and success?
I mean, he's loving it because he's been there from the very beginning alongside Tony Annan and then taking over for him. And there's a piece coming on Apple TV, the Academy monthly review. Might be there now, or it might drop later today. I had a chance to interview Matt for it, and just hearing the differences in the trajectory from Caleb, from Luke, and from a Johnny, like three guys who've been kind of in the news as of late. Caleb was there from a very, very young age. You knew when you first saw him at 15 with Atlanta United 2, and the guys who'd seen him in the academy before that, like he's got everything he needs to have to be with the first team and to be a star. Luke wasn't that. Matt said, he coached Luke at U15 and he didn't play a ton. He wasn't a guy. He was kind of more of the George Campbell mold of a guy who was on the roster, had to really work for it. Also, probably grew into his body a little bit more too, which is something that's another aspect of the academy you have to manage. And Luke has really blossomed here later. Johnny came in later. Johnny was coached by his dad for most of his youth career in North Carolina before coming down at about 15. And he walked in the door as a very different kind of player than like a Caleb would have or a Luke would have in their history, because Johnny came in, had been recruited to come in. He was somebody who came in and wanted to be a leader straight out of the gates, and then had some adversity and had to earn it. But you don't have a straight line in the academy development. And I think what Matt loves, the sense I get from talking to him, is when those lines maybe do hit that little bit of adversity, maybe there is a little bit of difficulty, he loves when he sees the players push through it. And they do that with the support of the coaches, with the support of all the staff at Atlanta United, their parents as well, their friends, their teammates. When they push through that and then really come good and have those big moments, that's why people work in youth soccer and youth development.
We now have a schedule in MLS Next Pro.
Yep.
We know what's going on. We know the where. I think Abby mentioned in the Twitch pitch that season ticket holders can click on their links and they can go down that path to get their tickets. When it comes to MLS Next Pro and Atlanta United 2, what are you anticipating this season from MLS Next Pro and seeing Atlanta United 2's place in it this year? What are you looking for?
It's hard to judge. I didn't watch a ton of Next Pro last year. It is a different kind of league than USL Championship in the sense that you don't have those Tampa Bays and Charlestons and teams that have, 26 to 32-year-old, like fully professional guys who are either, trying to win championships and make as much money as possible at that level or trying to fight their way back up to the first division level. You don't have that. It's a younger league. So it plays a little bit differently. You don't have those games where you go to Tampa and you're playing in front of a large crowd. You don't have those games where you go to Louisville and play in front of a large crowd. I think in one way that's going to help Atlanta United too, just from a purely result standpoint, which ultimately doesn't matter in the big frame of things of what that team is there for. It's not about winning trophies for them. It is about developing players. So that's never going to get lost, even if the results get better. And if the results get better, do not allow the narrative to become, oh, well, now they've got people doing it the right way. Do not allow that to happen. I'm asking everybody listening to do that, because youth development and results are not the same thing. Do not allow that narrative to start. I just have a feeling it will. It's a different league. It's a different setup. What we're seeing already with guys coming through is huge. Now what happens, I think, in terms of Atlanta United 2, where you're not getting that test that you can then break down against, potentially a national team player on the other side. You might see some of that in Next Pro, don't get me wrong, but you're going to have to hold yourself, and the coaches are going to have to hold the guys, and the teammates are going to have to hold their teammates to that Atlanta United standard of playing the Atlanta United way, building out of the back the Atlanta United way, counter-pressing the Atlanta United way, doing all of those things, being professionals, handling moments in games. You have to hold yourself to that standard, even if the competition isn't quite as strong, or it's just different, maybe is the best way to put it. But if the results are better, and they should be, because you're playing teams that are more like you than playing teams that are built differently than you, that doesn't mean that there has been a change for the better in terms of youth development. It means you're playing in a different league. And I don't want to see that narrative start. From a fan perspective, I mean, I think fans who go to the twos games, and there's some dedicated folks who go out and support the twos and are always there for the twos. I think they get it. They understand, the losing does drain on you a while, and it drained on the team at times, different points during their run in USL Championship. But that wasn't the number one goal. From a fan perspective, when you're just engrossed in the 90 minutes and you're not thinking about that number one goal of producing guys for the first team, yeah, it'll be fun. And it'll be fun because the games will be very competitive in a different way than they were before, where I think what happens is Atlanta United 2 is a favorite more often than not, as opposed to an underdog.
And Will reminds us. He says, but when you come to Huntsville, you're playing in front of a large crowd. Hunt City with Jack Collison. That's going to be a fun one for all the different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what the crowd looks like in Huntsville. Let's see. But that's a different setup, and there's not many of those in MLS Next Pro. That is a kind of a hybrid model where roster-wise, it's going to look very similar, and frankly, I don't think Nashville's youth development is anywhere near where Atlanta's is or where quite a few others are. I want to see what they do with signing the independent guys that could break through. I mean, it's an affiliate team in a separate market, so it's going to have a different feel than the pure twos teams do. But yeah, that's going to be fun. And the local ones are going to be good. I mean, when you go up to Charlotte and play Crown Legacy, that's going to be good. There are more independent teams coming. We know the whole rigmarole when it comes to Rochester and how poorly that was done all the way around the horn. It just bad across the board. Don't change it from Rhinos. This is what happens when you change the legacy name from Rochester Rhinos. You should have brought back Rochester Raging Rhinos instead of going with some generic name that whatever. You didn't even survive into year 2. Good job, Jamie Vardy. You're going to see more. Carolina Core is coming in next year in High Point. I think it's High Point. Yeah, it's High Point. And then I'm hearing more about other independent teams coming in. There's going to be announcements throughout the year, it sounds like. So it's going to be good to have a mix. But look, and again, you want to kill another narrative. I like killing narratives. It's fun. The idea that MLS didn't want to be part of USL anymore and wanted to launch their own league, that is purely not true. USL didn't want the MLS second teams in their league anymore. And that's their prerogative. And they benefited from it, and they stabilized because of it, and it was great. I get it if you're a Lou City, if you're an Indy 11, if you're a New Mexico, and you play the two teams on the road and it's a smaller crowd. It's two teams with very different aims. I totally understand it. So MLS had to do something. You can't just say, oh, they're kicking us out, so we're not going to have two teams anymore. No, you need those. And we've seen it here personally with Atlanta United too, and how important it is. So they had to create a league, and you have some growing pains. Rochester's absolutely a growing pain. I think it will be better as we get forward and things get a little more stabilized. And some clubs, frankly, do a better job with their player development.
One more thing before you go, and it's another blatant plug. We got some stuff going on at 5:30 and 7:30 tonight. That it's games of the week, the Friday version.
Yeah, you got a big one on the girls' side with Brookwood at Archer. Archer went to Brookwood and won last time. It's a big year for Archer this year on the girls' side. The boys' game is more of a jockeying for position to get into the state playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. We're into the pretty much flex scheduling portion of the high school season. Working on what it's going to look like the rest of the way as teams try to fight to get into that top 4 in each region or fight for positioning to get forward. So really fun time. Good games going on. There's players that, I feel like as somebody who's not like in the youth coaching side or in the high school coaching side, I have a decent finger on the pulse of players and teams and who to watch for. And feels like every game there's somebody who surprises me that I didn't know that is really good. The level of talent across the state is huge, and the high school game is a dramatically underrated part of that and a dramatically underappreciated part of that. And I think, you want to talk about playing in front of a big crowd. We go back to the next pro conversation. You get that in high school that you don't get in the club game and you don't get in the youth game. And that's part of development. It's part of dealing with a crowd of any size that is not your parents and parents' friends yelling at you. Now, I don't know if you're Gio Reyna and you've got his parents yelling at you, that might push you on to play well, but that's a whole different conversation. That I already unloaded on Atlanta soccer tonight on Monday and almost ran out of time in the segment because I did. You need games in front of crowds. You need games in front of opposing crowds. You need games like that. High school gives you that. There are some huge opportunities in high school for more of that. And that's something we're going to try to do here at SDH. It's something that's really become a bigger deal to me as we've seen a variety of programs all over the state this year, and some need more support, frankly, whether it's equipment, whether it's coaching education, whether it's exposure for their players. And we're going to try to do that.
Yeah, it was an example for crowds. One of the first matches we did this season, first doubleheaders, was Dalton and Johnson Gainesville, where you could not find a seat.
It was Johnson and Gainesville.
Yes, Johnson dashed Gainesville.
No. It was Johnson versus Gainesville.
Oh, that's right. That was the derby this year. I think
you're already forgetting things that happened this year, John.
2 years. I was 2 years back when we were doing Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. But yeah, Gainesville, the derby, the Hall County Derby with Gainesville and Johnson.
It's El Clasico. They don't call it a derby in Gainesville.
All right. Yeah, because I remember. Oh, that's right. Yeah, the full screen said El Clasico, didn't it? It did.
Don't go to Gainesville and be calling that a derby.
Okay, so it's an El Clasico because that's what
it is. One of the many El Clasicos around the state, and the Johnson girls have done really well since then. It's been cool to see. That's a program that I didn't expect to win that game, and they've went on a tear. They're going to get into the state playoffs, it looks like. So, whether it's Gainesville, whether it's the Dalton area, whether it's the south side of town, and not just Fayette County anymore. Talked to Mundy's Mill this week. Their girls are killing it this year. Rockdale has a good program over at Rockdale County this year, but then you get further out. Bleckley County's killing it. Bremen is killing it. Some really good soccer going on all over the place. It's been a fun season, and there's a whole bunch more to come.
Perry's killing it.
Perry is also killing it on the boys and the girls side.
So I've got to figure out a place to hang that. But no, it's been fun to do the high school season, and we got it at 5:30 and 7:30 tonight. I guess we got to make sure that I bring the golf umbrella to make sure that the gear doesn't get wet going to the press box. Yeah,
just in case. Any questions from the Twitch pitch I need to hit before I go?
Nope. The biggest one is talking about national team duty and how it'll impact things, but that's a next week thing.
Yeah, it's a next week thing, and I think it's going to be a 1 week thing. When you look at the schedule, like for that second game, I know we always panic, like, oh, you got called up and they're going to miss 5 games. No, they're not. They're going to miss 1 game. They might have minutes restrictions on the second game, but I don't think that's really going to come into play here. I don't expect Miles to play 180 minutes in 2 games. I don't expect Yakimakis to play 180 minutes in 2 games. The second game for Greece is a friendly against Lithuania. The first game is a Euro qualifier against Gibraltar, so I don't think he's going to play 90 minutes in that one either. Ronald Hernandez might play more minutes than anybody, honestly. And you've got cover there, so you're good. I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on the Red Bulls game going further down the line. I think it's the Columbus game where you're going to have to figure out playing time. And look, if guys get an opportunity here, they're going to be auditioning for that. Yeah, there's going to be guys from Columbus that are going to be missing too. It's never a one-way thing. So stop worrying about things down the road. Stop worrying about what about last year and blah, 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 blah. Just enjoy what's happening. It's good soccer. It's fun. This is a team that is really, really busting their to win games and to play well. And it's really enjoyable. I'm having a blast calling these games, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. We are everywhere tomorrow, from what I've been told.
Okay.
Everywhere. You will hear us wherever you walk.
Okay.
7 o'clock is pregame, 5 Stripes Countdown, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, the Atlanta United app, Sirius XM FC, and Apple TV MLS Season Pass on the home radio option. That'll start at 7:30. So, yeah, and a full-time report afterwards.
Full hour after that. So you got a full day, sir.
Yep, that's me.
All right. Well, go rest your voice because we got 5:30. And well, actually, I've got 5:30. You got 7:30 tonight, but it'll be fun. Brookwood at Archer. So get your rest and stay dry.
Adios.
Be good, Jason. Hanging out here on a Friday. That's the day of the week that this is. It's just take care of business. Take care of business. All right, and that's what you got to do. We got one more game to look at in the weekend whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming. It's the last one. LA and Vancouver, and it is at Dignity Health Sports Park. 10:39 kick. And numbers, LAG's a minus 141. Your draws plus 307. Vancouver's a plus 349. I think that about covers it. Got to go with LAG at home, I think. This weekend with stuff to watch, we can start with what's going on with what you're watching on the tube. We'll do that today. We'll do with them's stuff today, and then we'll get into all of that. Okay, BN has a Turkish Super League at 1, Ligue 1 with Lyon and Nantes at 4. Same for BN and Espanyol. If you don't get BN Sports or Teise or Goal or For the Fans or anything like that, go to Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. Oh, yeah, we need to do fantasy before we go. ESPN Deportes has La Liga, Santander, Valladolid, and Athletic Club at 4. Liga MX Femenil at 8. Liga MX at 10. Tijuana and Toluca on the plus. It is Circle Bruges and Genk at 340. Bundesliga with Borussia Mönchengladbach and Werder Bremen 320. Valladolid and Athletic Club at 4. Tijuana and Toluca at 11. Juarez and Atletico San Luis and MX Femenil at 9. You've got action with Birmingham and Tulsa at 8 in the championship, and North Carolina FC and South Georgia Tormenta at 7. Paramount Plus, Argentine Primera is at 8. Serie A is at 130 and 345. Okay, fantasy. Brought to us by our friends at the Jason Wright Agency. And so let's see if they have posted it. Your helpful hints. And it appears they have not. All right. So we'll see if Patrick has posted his for this week. And Patrick has not. Okay. So availability reports, you can go to Patrick N. Smith 82 on the Twitters, and he'll break things down for you. All right. So here's my fantasy lineup. William Yarbrough and net against Minnesota. Backline. Lovitz and Zimmerman going up against New England. Vaisanen from Austin going up against Houston. And Brooks Lennon. Brooks Lennon's still listed as a defender. I've got Driussi against Houston. Almada as my captain. Espinoza against St. Louis. Franco Ibarra at 6.6 million, averaging 4 2/3 points a match. Then I got Denny Bouanga and Dejan Joveljic up top, with budget guys down at the bottom in Sirwag, Gloucester, Hawkinson, and Adeniran. So that's my lineup right now. Feel free to share in the Discord what you guys have. I think I remember that with Josh Lambo being a reserve keeper for FC Dallas. I vaguely remember that. So that's my lineup. Feel free to share y'all's. And yes, Nick, well, your Foxes need fixes, and I don't know if it's coming, but I think that there are teams that are worse. So it's going to be, but we're going to have to look at run-ins. Seriously, we're going to have to. So that's what you're staring at. Once again, 5:30, 7:30. We got stuff, we got games, and Jason mentioned the broadcast plans for 92.9, and that is where that one's going to go. So I think, short of anything else that has broken in the news department, I think we're good. Mentioned all of the draws. Mentioned all of what it's looking like. Some sacking of Vieira, Sir Jim Ratcliffe showing up. Pep is more convinced than ever that Vincent Kompany will one day return to the Etihad as Manchester City manager. Rico Lewis got his first call-up for the England U21s. Let's see. I guess we should do gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. And we'll look at today's gossip. Manchester United ready to join the bidding for Jude Bellingham. They're ready to drop the £110 million. Newcastle want to make James Maddison a priority this summer. Earmuffs, Knicks. With the 26-year-old said to want to play in the Champions League, become a regular in the England squad. Dele Alli's loan spell at Besiktas will not be made permanent in the summer. Everton likely to terminate his contract. Thierry Henry rejected the chance to become the head coach of France's women's team. I know there was a discussion about hiring Thierry Henry for the men here. Instead, he's keen on the vacant U.S. men's head coaching position. Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani will make a second offer within 10 days after his reps visited the club yesterday. Victor Osimhen, who's been linked to some of Europe's top clubs, says he will discuss his future with his agents at the end of the year, so don't ask him right now. Real Madrid considering a move for Romelu Lukaku, set to return to Chelsea at the end of the season for his season-long loan at Inter Milan. Manchester United, Newcastle, Brighton, Brentford have all shown interest in Celta Vigo midfielder Gabri Vega, with other Premier League clubs also scouting the 20-year-old. Arsenal keen on Vega. Gunners are the player's preferred destination. Solly March set to sign a new contract with Brighton after his current deal expires this summer. Wolves set to offer Ruben Neves a new contract. Bayer Leverkusen interested in signing Vladimir Kufal. And Danny Rose is training with National League side York City, having been without a club since his Watford contract was mutually terminated in September. That comes from the three-letter paper, so take the information at your own peril. So that's going to do it for our show. Thanks for everybody for hanging out for yet another week. Thanks for Jason for dropping by. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks to Cap for dropping by, Michael Parkhurst, and all that stuff. Remember, 5:30, 7:30, girls, boys, Brookwood and Archer on the network. And so it'll be fun to be seeing how the folks are going to respond to the wet. Yes, very, very nice. Very nice, Knicks. So we'll leave with this. Knicks. Solly March scored at 3:15 on 3:15, but where are the odds of Solly March? Well done, sir. He's on my fantasy team in the Prem. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, no doubt. Definitely. Well, Besiktas ain't using him, Tom. That's what happens. Fall from grace. You ain't kidding. We'll be back at it on Monday. Jarrett and I will probably end up doing a salty takeaway Sunday, so you guys can have something to listen to and vent your spleen early, and we'll be back at it for a reaction Monday on Monday at 9:05. We'll talk stuff. That's the official term, because USL League One will be underway. USL Championship will be in week 2, and our games as we get closer in the business end of the schedule in the high schools. We'll keep you posted on that too. So that's all I got. And so since it's the end of the show, Mocha Plati, all played safe for everybody. That means I get to do this. We'll see you. Salty takeaways this weekend. Enjoy the match this weekend. Take care of business. Will they all be safe, especially with the weather being goofy out there right now. And we'll be back at it Monday morning, 9:05. For Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Played safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll see you Monday morning.